What's going on, YouTube? So the time has come. We are finally reviewing the 2-liter turbo Accord. This is something we've been wanting to do and you guys have been asking us to do for a long time now. So we are definitely happy to be out at Gates Honda today. As always, we encourage you to swing by their dealership or visit their website if you're in the market for any new Honda. So with that all said, let's see if this is the best driving midsize sedan. So we've already done a full review of the 2020 Accord. So with this review, we kind of just want to focus on what's different with this 2.0T Touring. With that in mind, you really won't notice a ton of changes. For instance, there's nothing different with the face, but the LED high beams are added to the standard LED low beams. The other changes to the body are certainly on the subtle side of things, just being dual integrated exhaust outlets and a 2.0T Touring badge. The Touring's unique 19-inch alloy wheels are the most expressive part of the design, but overall, Honda doesn't beat you over the head with sporty design elements to declare the performance. Now, as far as other details such as safety systems, it is the same as the rest of the Accord lineup. But anyways, that's it for the exterior. So now let's take a quick look inside before we get to the important part, which is taking it out for a drive. Now obviously the top trim of the Accord does come with their smart entry system as well as remote start. And then getting inside the vehicle itself, it is just a sensor behind the handle. Now just like on the outside, to keep things moving along here, I'm really just going to focus on your differences with the Touring model we have today. Now as far as your seating, that's not really any different for the Touring model. It is still leather, just like on the EXL and up, and it is still available in 3 colors, ivory, gray, or black. Now turning over here to your door trim, it is very nicely appointed. You have leather through here, all through here, and it is soft touch along the top. And then you have this faux wood accent. You also have 2-person memory seating, and your front 2 windows are one-touch automatic. And then as far as your seats, they are the same 12-way power adjusting. Now as far as your materials are concerned, the Touring does give you a little bit extra. Basically it's all the same from here down. However, right through here on your center tunnel, on your lower trims, this will be hard touch. But EXL and Touring, they both have the leatherette pad right here for your knee to rest against. And then as far as our gauges here, I know it's a little bit hard to see with this reflection, but this is the same as in all the other Accord models. But what's different for the Touring is that this is the only model to throw in a head-up display. So as you can see right now, all we've got on there is just your speed, but you can configure it to put some other stuff on there as well. As far as the steering wheel, of course it is leather wrapped. Touring does throw in rain sensing wipers. However, I do want to point out that steering wheel heating is still not available in the US, even on the top end Touring model. And then the wheel itself is manual, tilt, and telescoping. For your interior storage, once again, the same as the other Accord models. Put up here in the front, you do get the additional wireless phone charger, so that's a nice touch. You still have the same other USB ports. And you also have the NFC spot right here where you can just bump your phone and have it pair automatically. Now as far as your shifter, when you go for that 2-liter engine, the traditional shifter is subbed out for Honda's electronic shifter. And of course it does work the same way as in other Honda models. You're just going to press D for drive. Every model equipped with a 2-liter engine, even the Sport model, will come with paddle shifters. And then in reverse, you're going to find the same backup camera as you do on the other Honda models. It does have active trajectory, as well as 3 different views there. And then you also can have a visualization of your front and rear parking sensors. Then back behind the shifter, you've got your electronic parking brake and your brake hold function. Now glancing up here at the climate controls, this is one area that stays the same across the Accord lineup. So you've got these really high quality feeling climate controls. It is a dual zone automatic. But one difference for your touring only is the exclusive 3-stage ventilation. So you have to get this model if you want the ventilated seats. And then of course we do have the upgraded audio system. In typical Honda fashion, it's not branded on any of the trims, but this one is 450 watts and 10 speakers, so let's go ahead and sample that. Overall sound quality is definitely very good, and I would say definitely a lot better than that standard sound system that came in the Sport trim that we sampled a little earlier in the year. Now as far as anything up here that's different in your HondaLink system, really not much. What you'll be looking at though is navigation. That comes on EXL and Touring models. But the only thing in here that's actually Touring exclusive, once again, is the NFC pairing and also the AT&T hotspot. That's just for the Touring at this moment. And moving on up here, we do have an auto-dimming mirror, frameless design with the 3 HomeLink universal remotes. And then wrapping up the cabin, you do have a standard size moonroof. This is included on both 2-liter models, the Touring and the Sport. But anyways guys, that sums up all the differences with this 2-liter Touring up in the front. So I'll quickly hand it off to Mason to check out a few of the differences in the back before we get to the important part, which is taking this car out on the road. Now checking out the rear door trim of the Accord Touring, you are going to find a very nice one. You have leather going all the way through your armrest, as well as above that, some wood trim. And you will also find the button for the 3-stage heated rear seats, which are included on the Touring as standard equipment. And down below that, you do have some bottle storage. Now here in the center, you will find vents on this fully loaded Accord Touring, and that is included on the higher end models. However, you will not find any outlets or anything like that, but you do have a fold down armrest, cup holders inside, as well as some lighting and an assist grip. Now as far as how the actual space compares to most of its rivals, you have 40.4 inches of rear legroom, which does make it larger than the Camry as well as the Hyundai Sonata. So you're going to have tons of space behind Drew's position. I probably have about 10 to 12 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. As you can see, I can basically fully stretch out, so this is definitely going to be a very spacious offering for this class. Now heading around to the cargo area to open it up, just locate the button under the lid. And once inside, you're going to find 16.7 cubic feet of cargo space, which does put it ahead of most of its main rivals, like the Toyota Camry, Nissan Altima, and Hyundai Sonata. And as far as how it's finished back here, they do finish it nicely. So up underneath the floor here, we do have a spare tire. And your seats do also fold 60-40 split on all but the base outlets.
As far as your seat, it does do 4-way power adjustment on the Touring and EXL trims. And in front of your passenger, you do have a good-sized glove box that is dampened. And up top, we have a sun visor with a mirror and light that does also detach as well as extend. But anyway, guys, that sums up all of the rear areas of this Accord Touring. So now let's go ahead and get out on the road and see one of the main reasons you buy the Touring, that 2-liter engine.
So there's our first acceleration in the 2-liter turbo Honda Accord. This is my first time behind the wheel of this model. You know, a lot of you guys have been wanting to see this and wanted me to drive it. But anyways, getting back on the subject here, the 2-liter turbo, 4-cylinder, 252 horsepower. So definitely a big jump over your standard 1.5-liter turbo. And 273 pound-feet of torque, which is also something you definitely notice upon the first acceleration. How, you know, it's a very torque-rich engine, so it really pushes you back in your seat when you accelerate. Definitely enough power to put you back in your seat. The 1.5-liter turbo is really, it's a great engine, but it's not powerful. Yeah. You know, it doesn't feel all that powerful, and you know, this is what a lot of you guys will want to look at, because it does feel like a big step up in power. But as far as the rest of the package, you know, it keeps all the good characteristics of the Accord in place. And of course, just as important as the power is your handling. And you know, all the Accords, even your standard models, they really do an excellent job in this area. And this 2-liter is no different. As far as some touring exclusive, you have adaptive dampers here on this model. So that does allow you to have both sporty handling and some really great ride characteristic. You know, just hitting some bumps like that little bump there, you really can't feel anything. I mean, it rides absolutely phenomenally. Better than most mid-size sedans, I would say. Kind of feels a class above, actually. I can't think of any other mid-size sedan that offers adaptive dampers. Steering has a really fast response, very linear feeling. You can just see it responds instantly.
You know, and also just how planted this car feels. You know, I mean, we're on a country road, and it does allow you to really just kind of fly through this road, because it gives you that confidence, because you feel like you're just pinned to the road, and you have that, you know, really agile feel to this car.
Yeah, as far as sporty driving dynamics, what this best competes against is the Mazda 6 Turbo. You know, this and that are kind of right in line with each other. They both feel just really excellent out on the road here, just kind of winding away, you know, and it is legitimately fun, not just for a mid-size sedan, but this is actually a really fun vehicle. One one of the key advantages of this over, say, the Mazda 6 is definitely the 10-speed automatic transmission. None of the competitors have that. The Mazda 6 is a 6-speed, the Camry is an 8-speed, and this is a 10-speed, and it's extremely smooth. Great transmission. It's developed in-house by Honda, and they really have done a great job. Having that many gears, keeps you in your power band and keeps that turbo ready to go.
And that's a unique advantage over the 1.5 liter model, is that, that 1.5 liter in the, most trims is stuck with a CVT. Obviously you're going to have a much better fun driving experience with a traditional transmission than a CVT.
The other thing that's really important to remember for you enthusiasts is that you can pair this engine with a manual transmission as well. Not in the touring trim, this is only with a 10-speed automatic, but if you go for the 2-liter Sport, you can actually get a manual transmission, so that's definitely very cool, and, don't think any of the competition does that. I'll go ahead and kind of toggle it into the Sport mode here, so that we can kind of mess around with the paddles on this model. Now, since this is a reconfigurable gauge cluster, one of the things that happened when I put it into Sport is that it redid the gauges there, changed the design basically to have the tachometer plus also the turbo boost. So that's definitely a cool touch.
And the adaptive dampers on this touring adjust.
Yeah, they respond nicely to what's going on. Really cool. This really does pull hard. You can tell that this engine is related to the Type R. Of course it's detuned, but it is related, and you can feel the Sport characteristics coming out, especially when you start playing with the paddles here. Really brings out the fun. And they are very quick responding.
Now past that, I do want to talk about the fuel economy of this 2-liter engine. You're seeing the benefits of this turbo, but I do want to discuss the fuel economy. Of course, as you would expect, it is hurt a little bit from the regular 1.5-liter turbo model. So we're going to come in at 22 city, 32 highway, 26 combined for this 2-liter with the 10-speed automatic, or the same fuel economy with the manual as well.
But yeah, all in all, I have to say, this is the Accord to get for a lot of you guys. Like, if, there's a lot of Accord buyers out there. You just want fuel economy, you want, good basic transportation. But a lot of Accord buyers recognize that Honda spends more effort, trying to make good sporty products, and, they're looking to have a little bit more from the Accord. And this is definitely that more. It takes everything good about the Accord, with all the sporty handling and all the great packaging, and then just pairs it with the engine it deserves. Like, this is a fantastic engine, fantastic powertrain as a whole, with the 10-speed automatic, and of course the option of a manual transmission. So as far as from an enthusiast standpoint like myself, this is definitely the Accord to get.
Alright, and for the pricing for the 2020 Accord, you do have the LX, which starts at $23,870. Then you have the Sport at $26,530, the EX $27,770, EXL $30,270, and then you have the 2-liter models, which are the Sport 2-liter for $31,060, the EXL 2-liter for $32,270, and then finally you have this one, which is the highest end trim with the upgraded engine. $36,100 is the starting for this. Now, as far as how this one's equipped, Honda doesn't do options, so you have the $930 destination charge, and all told, this one, as equipped, comes in at $37,030, which represents the highest price point of the Accord lineup, which I have to mention does come in quite a bit below a fully loaded Camry, so just keep that in mind when you're cross-shopping the two. Well guys, hope you enjoyed watching one of the first in-depth looks at the 2020 Honda Accord Touring 2.0T. We really appreciate you watching, and be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.